Hello, good evening and welcome ladies and gentlemen to the season finale of the one and only Middle of the Pack Racing League LMP3 Championship. The Falling into LMP3 Championship for 2024 has brought to you on the premier sim racing platform available only on PC, known as iRacing, and in collaboration with our parody sponsor for this season, the Denton Street Conference World Tour for 2024. The scene is set. After 7 weeks of incredible rapid fire racing action, we have now set the stage for our final round of the season. It is round 8 of 8, and we've made our way to the European continent once again after it being the stalwart of the Stage 1 Cup. But here we are in the ending throes of the Stage 2 Cup for the one and only Autódromo Internacional do Algarve, also known as the Algarve International Circuit, or Portimão in short, in reference to the local city. A circuit which is young compared to many of its European counterparts, having only been opened in 2008. It is a circuit not to be underestimated. It may only be 16 years old, but in the space of its 16-year history, it has seen a whole variety of international series take to its venerable tarmac, where it be Formula 1 for the 2020 Formula 1 Grand Prix, having to be rescheduled to Portugal due to COVID, or alternatively the arrival of the European Le Mans series, or even more domestic series including local Portuguese touring car. It is a circuit which is known best perhaps for its opportunity to create absolutely edge-of-seat racing action. With 2.9 miles in length for its Grand Prix layout, it is a circuit that brings together a wide variety of undulations and sweeping corners, and also some rather tricky hairpins to create a circuit where it's all about being as brave as possible to carry the speed from corner to corner and go onto the attack on the straights and into the braking zones to make an overtake. And with overtakes being possible at practically every corner here, some being more viable than others, it is really a circuit that brings out the very best in drivers as they look to go hunting for overall victory. And that's exactly what our drivers will be looking to do today, because whether it be the overall championships or alternatively the Stage 2 Cup championships, all of our championship titles are on the line today, and that's why this is going to be an absolute nail-biter through to the final checker flag. But as we welcome you all to this post-round broadcast from the circuit side, to reiterate, this being a post-round broadcast, the broadcast itself right now is live. However, the racing action itself is not, with the racing action having occurred earlier this week on what was Wednesday the 30th of October 2024. We're bringing it to you as if it were live this Saturday, the 2nd of November. And well, we do ask, of course, no spoilers in our respective chats, given the fact that here in the commentary booth, we do not want to know what happens and how it all wraps up here today, and we don't want any potential spoilers either for the guys and girls that are tuning in at home. Speaking of which, you could be tuning into this broadcast via one or two media platforms for your viewing pleasure. Firstly, you could be tuning in via YouTube at youtube.com and search for what is TX141TX or Paul Walsh, and welcome to you guys and girls on YouTube, including Edwin Onofre and Jason Landry, where Edwin Onofre is saying let's go, and also we say hello to Eric Logston there saying it's a good day for a race. You betcha, Eric. And also there, Jason Landry commenting on such a great track for the big finale. But we also have the broadcast available on Twitch at twitch.tv/TX141, and welcome to you guys and girls on Twitch. Who is TX141? Who is Paul Walsh? Well, allow me to introduce myself as your host and commentator for this series. My name is Paul Walsh, also known as TX141 or Britain a Spit, depending on what media you follow me on, and I will be with you bringing the curtain down today with our final race of the season. We've only got one race on our schedule here today, times in what is Greenwich Mean Time or Universal Coordinate Time, so GMT or UTC, and it will be our 50-minute feature race, getting underway in approximately 11 minutes time to bring us to our final checkered flag. But how do we get there, here you ask? Well, here is how we got there. We started off, of course, with the Stage 1 Cup, all the way back on the 4th of September, and we began the campaign on the European continent at the Circuit de Spa-Francorchamps in Belgium. We then made our way to neighbouring Spain for the Aragon Circuit in round number 2 on the 11th of September, and on the 18th of September, we went all into Italy for the Autodromo Internacional Enzo e Dino Ferrari, or IMLA as it's known in short, before wrapping up the Stage 1 Cup with our feature race finale there in round number 4, and that was at the Circuit de Le Mans, or the Circuit de la Sarthe, I should say, or the Le Mans Circuit on the 25th of September. We've made our way now into the Stage 2 Cup, and we began that journey with a more international variety in the South American continent at the Brazilian Circuit of Interlagos on the 9th of October. We then made our way northwards to the United States of America to do the Texas two-step at the Circuit of the Americas in round number 6 on the 16th of October, and last time out we were over in Asia for the Pacific Circuit of what was at the Fuji International Speedway, and the Japanese circuit absolutely delivering and seeing the championship title shaken up, no doubt about it, on the 23rd of October in round number 7, and we bring it all to a close state at the Portimão circuit for round 8 of 8, and our feature race finale. But that's the calendar and how we've got to here. But what do our championship stands look like after 7 rounds of racing? Well, we begin then with the overall Drivers' Championships, and in particular the Pro Class. And as we can see, Edwin Onofre leads the way by 10 points over Jaden Calloway. Last time out at Fuji, it was not clean sailing for the 3-time winner of this season, Edwin Onofre. It was all about damage limitation and recovery, and he did well to recover and be able to make sure that that lead was not reduced too far, and 10 points is the difference between the two of them. Theoretically, Tanner Dibble could take the crown, and the same for Eric Nickens, but they would require Edwin Onofre and Jaden Calloway to both have major disasters in the race, and even potentially some points to be dropped after the race as well if they're going to be truly eligible, and therefore the battle for the win is going to be between Onofre and Calloway, and the battle for P3 is going to be between Tanner Dibble and Eric Nickens, two drivers not to be underestimated with 3 points between the two of them. In the battle for P5, it's David Adeyi who leads the one, 212 points, 6 ahead of James Logston and 12 ahead of Jason Landry as the three look to scrap, and that phenomenal piece of strategic work from Jason Landry at Fuji with the long stint at the start and taking a very limited amount of fuel. Well, it worked out for Landry, and could he pull another surprise today and make it what would be, I do believe, his 3rd win of the season? Well, we'll have to wait and see. In fact, it may be his 2nd win of the season now that I refresh my memory. Julian Jones sits P8 on 160 points, 9 ahead of Kai Moraes, and then Jordan Butler completes your top 10, falling from grace, but will he fall all the way outside the top 10 today? Well, Dominic Ford, who sits a further 6 points behind, will be looking to do so as he sits there in P11 ahead of Christian De Soto, with Carl Ranieri and John Lauzon wrapping up the standings. We'll then come to the Pro-Am class, and here we can see it is dead even between Matthew Quinton in one corner and Shajee Zuhair in the other, both on 227 points, and it's all going to come down to who finishes ahead of the other today to take that crown, as we're to understand it. And the same could be said in the battle for the 3rd place spot, with Matt Best and Wesley Griffith both on 200 points. You couldn't make this up. It's fantastic to see, and Matthew Best really has been one of the stars of the second half of the season, but that's not to underestimate the performances of Wesley Griffith, particularly in the Stage 1 Cup, and he'll be hoping that he can end on a high today. Tom Bryce, meanwhile, sits in a silent but deadly P5 and might be having a swing at the top 3 before all is said and done. And Garrett Chavez in P6 on 152 points. He'll be feeling relatively safe, being 15 points ahead of Jermaine Warren, with Mark Senegal, Aaron Lahr and Justin Braggon completing your top 10. P11, best the rest, is Nick Bader, 10 points outside of the top 10, but will he be stay outside it by the end of today? He's ahead of Justin Delano by 5 points. And it's Jake Gertson, Jacob Wally and Sean Symes who complete the standings. And then we come to the AM class, and as we can see, it is going to be a competition between the two drivers for what is Eclipse Racing Esports by Skyline Designs. On one side, it'll be Joseph Blommel in the team's garages, and on the other, it will be Braden Melling. And 7 points between the two of them. Blommel is the leader of the pair and really is the man to be, but do not underestimate Braden Melling, who right now is running the form and has been the man to beat since the start of the Stage 2 Cup, and it could go either way. Glenn Bratton, meanwhile, sits P3 on 148 points, and he's made his way into P3 and will be looking to stake his stake in the ground to make sure Edward Irving, or S. Edward Irving as he's known in full, does not take it away from him before all is said and done, with a 14-point difference, and it's a further 5 to Aaron Tiggett there in P5. Even Rolf sits P6 ahead of Kyle Peterson by 3 points, and it's Jesse Jamison Jr., Roger Ganesh and Jason Seelin who complete your top 10, with P11 being in the hands of Alexander Fresalone, and it's Navru Kumar, Tim Chong, Todd Miller and Kurt Smith who complete your AM standings. But then coming to the Teams Championship, and as we can see, ITD West lead the way by the best part of 40 points. Theoretically, they will feel safe, albeit it's not all guaranteed. And should Photan Clan pull an absolute Goliath 4 points out today, and ITD West were to fall short, it could swing the other way. But what we're keeping our eyes on is the battle for P2. Photan Clan sit there only 11 points ahead of ITD West JMT, and ITD West would like to make it a 1-2 in the Teams Championship if they can, and the JMT team have been charging after Photan Clan since round number 6. Eclipse Racing Esports by Skyline Designs, meanwhile, lead the hunt for P4 by 10 points over Sunday GT Turtles, with Team Bearpo and DNA Motorsports also in the mix, and you can see there only 32 points between the 4 teams, and who's going to be in that 4th place spot? That will be the big question that needs to be answered. And then we do have sitting in P8 middle of the pack racing, equal on points versus Second Breakfast, 254 to the two of them, but ahead based on result countback, with Kind of Fast Racing team completing the top 10. Vice Motorsports sit in P11 171 points ahead of Caboose Crew, with Breakfast for Dinner and Slipstream Slots completing a Teams Championship. And then we come onto the Cup championship standings. Of course, the Stage 2 couples needs to be wrapped up here today, and as we can see in the Pro class, Edwin Onofre only holds a 2-point advantage over Jaden Calloway. Such was the deficit cut that Jaden Calloway was able to achieve at Fuji, and Jason Landry is a further 10 points behind, and any one of these three could walk away today with the Stage 2 Cup in the Pro class. Outside the top three, it's Eric Nickens ahead of Dominic Ford. That's your top five, and it's Tanner Dibble, Comer Eyes, Julian Jones, David Adey, and James Logston who wrap up the top 10, with Carl Ranieri in P11. And then we have in the Pro-Am class, Matthew Quinton leading the way by 9 points over Matt Best, and these two really have been the stars of the Pro-Am class in the second half of the season so far, with Shajee Zuhair refinding his form in round number 6, and indeed doing the same again last time out at Fuji. But is it too late for him to potentially steal away the Stage 2 Cup? We'll have to wait and see. Wesley Griffith and Tom Bryce complete the top 5, 4 points between the two of them as they fight for the right to be just outside the podium places, and then Aaron Lara further 14 points adrift there, and he'll be hoping that he can work some magic to get back into the top 5 in the Lion Green Privateer machine. Jermaine Warren sits P7 ahead of Nick Bader, with Garrett Chavez and Justin Bragan completing the top 10, and Mark Senegal is P11 at best of the rest. And as we come to the AM class, we can see Braden Amelin, the reason why he is the man on the mission and has the momentum at the moment. He's leading by 7 points over Glenn Bratton, who took his first win of his middle of the pack Racing League career in any given MPRL series earlier on in the Stage 2 Cup, and he's on 83 points, and he'll be looking to try and spring a late upset versus Melling. But again, in theory, it's one thing, in practice, it's another. Aaron Tiggett sits P3 ahead of Joseph Blamel by 8 points, and then it's S. Edward Irvin who completes the top 5. Carl Peterson sits P6, and it's Roger Ganesh, Jason Seelin, and Jesse Jonathan Jr. who round out the Stage 2 Cup championship stands for the AMs. But that's all of our championships and cup standings covered. Let's go on to our circuit for today. And we are here, of course, at the Grand Prix layout of the Autodromo Internacional do Algarve, located near the city of Portimão in the Faro district of the Algarve region of Portugal. Well, as we can see from the circuit map provided by iRacing.com, and thank you to iRacing for their brilliant simulator and the absolutely blistering track maps that come with it. It is a circuit which brings together an absolute wonderful medley of what is sweeping corners, hairpins, heavy braking zones. However, a two-dimensional image doesn't show you just how many elevation changes there are over the course of what is the 2.9 mile lap or the 15 corner lap. But I can tell you what does give you a sense of perspective of all those elevation changes and undulations, and that is a reference lap. But for the last time this season, we do cut to an onboard from what was the practice session in the build-up to this season at the Algarve circuit from none other than Jason Landry, our pro driver, as he takes us around for a flying lap. And as we jump on board here in the LMP3 machine, making his way down towards turn number 1, much brighter skies and a bit of a warmer circuit compared to what we're racing in today. As he heads down towards the braking zone there, you'll notice from the top gear, now trail braking to full through turn 1, letting the car run out to the left-hand side, flat out through turn 2, and now having to get himself all set for trail braking down into the hairpin here at turn number 3, down to first gear, before making his way up the rise and in towards turn 4. Completely unsighted over the apex, it's all about confidence and managing the rear end, as he now powers his way down towards the turn 5 hairpin, as he gets ready to do so. You can't see the corner, and then suddenly it appears out of nowhere, and you have to brake before you can see the apex, all the way down to first gear. As he comes out to left-hander, it's immediate now, getting the throttle buried back in, and get the car over to the left-hand side here to open up turn 6, through left-hander, and most importantly, open up turn number 7, as he comes up through the right-hander, and now dropping the car down 2 gears to second gear, trail braking in there, having to battle with the steering wheel and battle with the rear end of the car, as he comes out to turn 8, and over the rise, and down he goes, in towards turn number 9, the uphill left-hander where you bury the car into the apex, into Portimão corner at turns 10 and 11, and here it's all about braking for turn 11. You haven't seen it yet, there's turn 11, a corner that's completely unsighted due to what is the A pillar of the LMP3 machine, and as he makes his way out of 11 through 12 flat out, it's now the long run all the way through to the start-finish line, albeit not without the tight right left-hander of turn 13, and bring the car immediately over to the left-hand side to open up turn number 14. Through the downhill right-hander he goes, holding second gear, now feed the throttle in, build up the momentum, and now it becomes the ultimate roller coaster ride ending to lap here as he makes his way over the crest and through turn 15, fully planted on the throttle and building up to the best possible speed as he heads the line, and thank you to Jason Landry for a phenomenal reference lap. But as we come onto our rules, let's quickly remind you of those rules before we do go racing. And setup-wise, our drivers are running a fixed setup as provided by our stewards ahead of each and every round, and indeed the middle of the pack Racing League stewards doing their hard work as always, and fuel loads have been restricted to 50 litres. Now in general with our races, they all begin via a rolling start, and the drivers shall receive a drive-through penalty if they accumulate 15 or more instant points. As today is a feature race, That means the grid will not be set by a qualifying session, but it will be set as a class reverse grid based on the latest Drivers' Championship standings. That's the overall Drivers' Championship standings going into this round. So to put that in English, what it means is the pros start ahead of the primes and the primes start ahead of the yams, but we reverse the class championship standings. So the lowest placed pro driver starts an overall pole, and meanwhile the leading pro driver in the championship starts at the back of the pro pack, and we rinse and repeat for the primes and then subsequently the yams. Each driver has 2 fast repairs available at any given point in the race. They may decide to use them if they pick up major damage, and the safety car shall be deployed if there is a major incident involving 3 or more cars, and the safety car may only be deployed once, and it may not be deployed after 30 minutes into the race. It will happen within the opening 30 minutes, albeit we don't want to see safety cars at all, but they can always make a big factor and a big change in the race, but we'll have to wait and see. But we've all been waiting to go racing, and well, without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, we head back to circuit side, and let's take you through our grid for the season finale. And in fact, we're not going to be able to use that grid there because it is a little bit erroneous, but what we can do is we can take you through what is the grid of drivers as they all make the way into position on that grid, and well, we will walk you through orally with regards to exactly where everybody does stand on the qualifying grid. And well, starting off with the reversed Pro Championship class, you are going to have none other than Kaimarais, who starts an overall pole position and the pro pole sitter, I should say. The Brazilian driver will be joined on the front row of the grid by Julian Jones, with Jason Landry and James Logston on row number 2, and then you'll have David Adeyee and Tanner Dill P5, P6 on row number 3. Followed up on row 4, it'll be Jaden Calloway and Edwin Onofre. Onofre, of course, being our Pro Championship leader. He starts his day P8, and you'll see him right there in the mix of the field. And then we will be coming onto the Prime class. Pole sitter in P9 will be Nick Bader, being the lowest position Prime driver in the Championship going into this round, with Justin Braggon alongside to complete the top 10 in P10. Mark Senegal starts best arrest P11 ahead of what will be Jermaine Warren, and then we do have Tom Bryce and Wesley Griffith from row number 7 ahead of Matt Best and Shajee Zuhair, and then you have Matthew Quinton line up P17, and he will be the last of the Pro-Ams, and 9 he's got to beat the man who starts in front of him, Shajee Zuhair, in order to bring home that Pro-Am crown. We then complete the field with the Am drivers, and starting P18 will be Jason Seelin on Am pole. He'll be in the company of Jesse Jamison Jr. and Cole Peterson to wrap up the top 20, with Aaron Tigger and what is S. Edward Irving on row number 11. Then we have Glenn Bratton and Braden Malin on the penultimate row of the grid, and starting on the final row of the grid, it'll be Joseph Blomel, who will be at the last of the Am drivers, and Dominic Ford, who has not met the requirement for completing enough rounds of the championship. He starts last but not least P26, but it looks as though we may have some technical issues for both Nick Bader and Dominic Ford, as they're not listed on the grid and they're not in the pit lane, and if so, that's drama before we've even got underway, ladies and gentlemen. But right now, forget the drama as we see our drivers making their way around on this partial formation lap, and it's quite a long partial formation lap. And given the fact that whilst they have started in the run in towards turn number 5, well, they've still got the best part of 2/3 of the lap to do the formation lap on. And well, we do look down to the front of the field right now as we talked you through the grid. And of course, we do have some limitations looking at an iRacing replay file, but we work around those. And Kaimarais and Julian Jones will be very eager to go racing, of course, for ITD West, JMT, for Julian Jones in particular, alongside his teammates. This is a big one, and they want to beat Photon Clan in order to bring home that 1-2 in the team's championship behind their sister outfit of ITD West. But will the 33 driver be able to bringing home the big score of points? As he makes me stumble over my words, given the fact the plosive alliteration right now absolutely bombastic in terms of how things could play out here today. Well, we're not too far away from getting the green flag and underway, given the fact our field is now starting to make its way up towards turn number 15, and shortly you will see the safety car make its way up towards what will be the pit lane, and Kaimarais will start to back the field off little by little as they head on around for the long sweeping right-hander. But as they come on through, we do look to what is the speed dashboard in the bottom right corner of your screen. Kaimarais will be the one who dictates the pace into that long run down towards turn number 1. The safety car is off. It's now at the helm of Kaimarais, and for the final time this season, ladies and gentlemen, we get ready to race. And And it's lights out and away we go for round number 8 of the championship as Kaimarais gets a good start, and already it's 3 wide behind, almost 4 wide as Jones, Adeyeye and Landry all going side by side. Kaimarais absolutely nails the start, and as they make the way through, goodness me, a bit of a bump there to the rear of David Adeyeye, but he manages to back off. Meanwhile, Carl speared out wide, that's Jason Landry who gets forced to the gravel, and it's drama there as we've got even more drama front. Oh my good lord, and well, being the season finale, that I believe is Tom Bryce who's lost a load of bodywork and is into the barrier, and ITD West right now, they'll be absolutely fuming. That's Wesley Griffin, in fact, my apologies. The Votan Clan drive has been turned around, and Votan Clan will not want that heartbreak whatsoever, in the fact it's all gone horrifically wrong for them right off the bat. Meanwhile, one driver who it's gone incredibly well for is Jesse Jamison Jr., who's leapfrogged his way into P8 in all the drama, and when there's no sign of a safety car out on the circuit at the moment, ladies and gentlemen, we may have got away with it, but as they make the way on down, well, meanwhile, Jermaine Warren also making up multiple places at the start. In the middle of the pack, racing driver into P12, P3 in the prime class, as they roar and romp their way now into the second half of the lap. But that is an absolutely crazy start to the race here, and well, it being the season finale, we expect some shenanigans out there, but I get the feeling right now a few drivers may be absolutely fuming. And as Tanadibble roars his way on towards what will be turn number 12, he's got major pressure coming from Edwin Onofre behind, and Onofre knows all he's got to do is stay within 1 or 2 places of Jaden Calloway, who's in P4 currently, and then he'll be able to take what will be the overall championship crown. But for Onofre, that's not going to be enough, and he will want to make sure he finishes ahead of Jaden Calloway in order to be able to take what will be the Stage 2 Cup with it as they roar their way into turn number 15 to complete the first lap of the race. But as they come on around and up towards what will be at turn number 1, charging away and through, it is Kaimarais who leads after 1 lap of race and ahead of Julian Jones, followed by David Adeyeye. Then you've got Jaden Calloway P4, Tanadibble P5, Edwin Onofre P6, and then your prime leader Matthew Quinton is P7, ahead of your AM leader Jesse Jamison Jr., who was P8, but immediately Shajee Zuhair says, no you're not, I'm taking that because I need to go after Mr. Quinton. And Jamison Jr. is not going to argue over that, given they're in different classes, and well, they've both got very different championship aspirations. Hold the phone, however, in terms of that recall through the field, as that's Edwin Onofre around the outside of Dibble through turn number 4. That's very brave from the number 99 driver. You don't normally go around the outside there. He proves you can do it, and Onofre moves up to P5, and now he's got David Adeyeye in front of him as Jaden Calloway has been able to supplant his ITD West teammate and move up into P3. So Onofre is finding that one barrier has been removed and another one's been put in his face. But as they make the way on through the sweeping section now, coming in towards turn number 9 shortly, well, Onofre will keep settling down and know that it's a long race. It's 50 minutes in length, not 15, and therefore all the hard work's ahead. And speaking of hard work, Jason Landry will now know after that open lap incident, when we're not quite sure whether he was pushed around, alternatively whether he perhaps hit the sausage curb in towards turn number 2, but either way the car becoming very unsettled, and the Canadian driver falling all the way to the back of the field, but no safety car, so therefore he's got to do things the hard way right now, and that is looking around the outside of Matt Best, who glides under braking. There you saw the rear end just start to come loose a little bit for Matt Best, and Best really struggling with the tyres after 1.5 laps, and meanwhile Landry going on a mission to attack. But as they make the way on through the left-hander and up towards what will be turn number 12, well, in fact turn number 13 now, Landry's going to have to settle for Longhorn with James Logston right behind, another man who got caught up in all of that open lap carnage. Car around there, that is Jason Lynn, who's taking a spin. Everyone takes evasive action, takes the trip to the outside, and the privateer brings it back together, taking to the grass briefly, but he'll be frustrated at that. And meanwhile, we do look up the further order here, and completing what is your top 10, well, it's Braden Melling battling with Joseph Blamel, and well, these two from Eclipse Race Esports by Skyline Designs, they want to bring home the point to the team, but at the same time they won't want to take each other off the road. But the flip side of the coin is they're both fighting over what is both the AM Overall Drivers' Championship crown, and also for what is Braden Melling, he's fighting for the Stage 2 Cup. So therefore there's a little bit of a bittersweet battle going on between the two teammates. I'm sure they will rehearse this a little bit in terms of when's best to fight over it. Alternative, if there's no team orders whatsoever and they're just being left to it, well, they'll want to keep it as clean as possible, as Blamel immediately up the inside there, and I think you're going to see a lot of this back and forth, as there's a lovely switchback from Braden Melling, who's up the inside now into turn 6. And as they come through the right-hander, over the crest they go, and on down. Well, will it be Blamel coming back at his teammate? No, he won't. In fact, he'll tuck back in as we ride on board here with the second of the Eclipse Racing Esports by Skyline Designs car. And, well, as he makes his way out of the right-hander now, down he'll go in towards the rise of 9. But the thing here is being tucked into the dirty air of his teammate. It's going to settle the car. You can see just how early he's going to back off there, as Melling goes very deep, and Blamel's going to see the door open and go, thank you very much, and take the place. and it's as quick as 1, 2, 3, a mistake for me, and Braden Melling loses the place there. He brings it back together, and with Tom Bryce behind him, well, that is not going to be as much punishment as perhaps he would have expected, because S. Edward Irving still needs to clear the Pro-Am driver as the Team Bear Boat machine gets very close to the back of the ITD West car, but no such success in trying to find a move here. But S. Edward Irving definitely on the charge right now in P4 in the AM class and looking for a little bit more before all is said and done. But as they head in towards what will be another lap and roar their way down the start finish straight, well, Edward Irving right now in the tow, everyone trying to pick up the slipstream of their rival in front. I get the feeling the 242 here is going to pull out and go for the move into turn 1. Down the depression they go and in towards the apex. No, he backs out of it there and well decides not to gamble, runs a little bit deep as a result of the overspeed, and as he comes in towards turn number 3, you can see the car going very deep under braking, and meanwhile Matt Best battling up the inside of Jermaine Warren as they come through 2 in towards 3, and Jason Landry doing what we saw earlier on from other drivers, going around the outside at turn number 3 and picking the place off of Jermaine Warren, and the Sunday GT Turtles driver making progress, and now Best saying, okay, I'm going to pick even more off here, goes up the inside of S. Edward Irving. Jason Landry follows him on through there, and Best right now seems to be the bulldozer. Meanwhile, Jason Landry is just flying on through his path of wreckage, albeit not causing any damage, mind you, but open up plenty of doorways in order to take the places. And well, Jason Landry finding that right now he's in minimum effort mode, and that will help him later on in the race because he can save the tyres and save a little bit of brake temperature. But as they come in towards what will be turn number 10 and 11 now, where he's going to find running the dirty air here of Best. That is going to warm the tyres up a bit, and he'll want to try and clear Best as quickly as possible in order to make sure he doesn't overheat on the front. But as they come in towards what will be at turn number 12, we'll have to wait to see how this further unfolds in terms of his recovery drive for Landry and whether Best can fight his way past Tom Bryce. As meanwhile, we look up to David Adeyi, who right now is trying to keep Tanner Dibble behind as they head up towards the start-finish line and completing what will be their 4th tour of the circuit under race conditions. Leaders in the foreground of your picture. Meanwhile, David Adeyi and Tanner Dibble now into the centre ground, and as they head in towards turn 1, Dibble's going to look up the inside. He's going to force it too wide at the apex, decides to back out there. Very smart racing from Tanner Dibble, not fully committing to a move, but not fully backing out either, and instead what he's trying to do is get Adeyi to go wide and wide on the corners and get the car unsettled and force Adeyi to have to go on straight on into the runoff area. So Dibble playing it smart here, playing a bit of risk as well in the fact that Adeyi may decide to chop off his nose, thinking that he's clear of his rival, but they do have spotters, and therefore as they make the way for each and every corner, if the spotters see they're alongside, well, they will be feeding that information to the driver to say you can't quite take the apex the way you'd want to. But meanwhile, Jaden Calloway taking the apex exactly the way he wants to as he goes on past there what is Julian Jones, and well, the ITT West JMT driver letting Calloway go, and now going to put himself as an obstinate object in order for what is Calloway to get away and for Edwin Onofre not to be able to make any further progress. But as he heads up the rise here, we'll have to wait and see whether Onofre is going to be held at bay. The one thing we do know about Edwin Onofre is that he has a lot of tools up his arsenal, and what he's proven this season time and time again, if he's not the man with outright pace, unlike at Interlagos where he really was the man to be over every minute of the race, he is the man who could sometimes just simply make the car sing to the tune that he hums inside the cockpit and make those tyres last. And well, 3-time winner of this season, nobody else in the pro class has been able to amass that many wins in the class, and Edwin Onofre right now, he is chasing after what will be his 4th win to take half the wins of the series. And once they make the way up towards the timeline, Julian Jones right now will be feeling threatened as they power their way through. Is he going to offer a defence? It doesn't look like it here. What can he do other than force Onofre to go around the outside? But they'll both be at risk there of losing a lot of time, and Onofre will move into P3. But of course, if Jones feels as though he can stay on the pace of Onofre, one thing he can do is start to fuel save and tyre save, and that will be rewarded later on in the race when we do have that one mandated pit stop, and particularly in the final 10 minutes of the race. Given this is a 50-minute race rather than a 40-minute race, it does mean tyre preservation becomes ever more critical as the drivers continue to press on. Meanwhile, further down the order, Jason Landry, the big question of the full send recovery, where he's definitely going all in for. He's already back up to P13. His next target is Braden Melling, who you can see here as they make over. Oh, goodness me, and that is Edward Irving around. The Team Bearboat driver from Canada losing out of turn 3, and we saw on that reference lap just how sketchy the rear end of the car becomes as you come over the rise of the apex to turn 3. Essentially, the whole car lifts up almost. It doesn't quite leave the road racing surface, but it feels like the whole centre mass where the engine is behind the driver suddenly he lurches forward behind you, and Edwin Onofre finding that he's got no weight over the rear of the car, and therefore the car going completely round there. And well, I get the feeling we might have seen that mistake from Edwin Onofre early on this race, but we're going to see similar things happen to other drivers later on, particularly when tyre wear starts to become a major issue. But meanwhile, Kyle Morais won't be thinking about tyre life right now, because he's got a much bigger major issue behind him, and that is Jaden Calloway, who's looking to try and take the lead of this race as they head on through what is turn number 15 once again, coming to the end of the first fifth of this race. 10 minutes complete, 40 still to go, and as they head over the crest and on towards the start finish line, this top three roaring away. But you'll notice that Julian Jones is being dropped little by Onofre, but he is still within arm's reach as they head in towards turn number 1, and Calloway there gets it very dicey. It's turn 1, an interesting dummy there, very late to go for it, but it's worked in the fact he's been able to get himself alongside Morais into turn 3, and I think Morais had just been caught out slightly, seeing Calloway flex his muscle into 1, and therefore not perhaps attacking the turn 1 through the free apex as much as live. But meanwhile, oh goodness me, and there, very strong defense from Kyle Morais, and Onofre looking to the inside, but Morais just covering him off in time. Could have been a bit more contact. I think there was a bit of a love tap. Oh, and it's all unfolded as Jaden Calloway, after what was a very brave dummy into turn 1, the car almost goes round him at turn number 5, and he loses the lead of the race, and he gives the lead to Edwin Onofre. But meanwhile, Calloway now fighting here with Kyle Morais, who had to take evade in action. Julian Jones also for him, Morais on the inside, and as they make the way through what is turn 7, 8 and 9, coming into turn 9 now, well, Calloway going as defensive as possible here, completely compromising any momentum that any of the drivers behind him would like to carry. Into 10 they go. Morais says, I'm going for it. Calloway turns in, and when he just gives enough breathing room, runs a little bit wide out the corner, but he'll get away with that as they make the way through. But right now it is gloves off between the quartet here as we ride on board the rear man of this pack, and it's Tanner Dibble, as we do see there a little bit of brake dust being kicked up and a bit of brake smoke from a lock-up of Kyle Morais' front right. And as they come on down through the right-hander here, Morais having to go more and more defensive. I think he's absolutely, in fact, going more and more aggressive, I should say. As you can see that Calloway's really struggling with that error into turn 5. It's completely overheated the front tyres, and therefore he's just got no grip available as they head on to the next lap. And I think more and more is going to unfold here now as they head down, and it's going to be now Calloway defending to the inside, and meanwhile Morais on the outside, so it's going to be roles reversed here in the fact that Calloway needs to use that inside line. Morais goes a bit wide, carrying so much speed, absolutely got the bit between his teeth as the Brazilian driver, and well, he looks up the inside there, and again just gets chopped off at the apex, and well, Calloway knowing exactly how much room to give and force Morais to have to back out each and every time, and that forced him backwards towards Ian Dibble. And I think right now Calloway will be on the radio to the team saying, can you get David to do something about this, because I'm under pressure. And as the IT West driver looks around the outside, goes for the cutback move, and immediately responding, he knows what he's got to do for that team's championship lead, and on top of that as well to assist his teammate in the Pro Class Championship. But coming on down in towards turn number 7 right now, Kyle Morais is proving that if he can't get past the driver in front, nobody is going to get past him. And as they roar their way over the crest this time, well, there seems to be a bit of a breathing room for them as they head upwards and onwards in towards turns 10 and 11. But whilst all this is going on, Matthew Quinton has caught up to the back of this now, and well, if you're Matthew Quinton at this point, you're going to be thinking to yourself, oh great, I've been able to get onto the back of this pack, and therefore there's more points for me. But the problem is, if they continue fighting like this, the gap he has over Shajee Zuhair right now is the best part, with 7.5 seconds. Hold the fort, it's Tanner Dibble up the inside of which David Adi for a brief moment, a bit of a love tap between the two of them there, a bit of paint traded, but no love lost. And as they come on down through turn number 14, the thing I was just about to talk about is the fact that Quinton has got a 7.6 second gap of Shajee Zuhair, who's in P8 behind him, his main contender in the Prime Class Championship. But if the Pro Pack in front of him fight this much, well, he's going to be losing a lot of time, and he might find that suddenly Shajee Zuhair is right behind him once again, albeit the respective pace at the moment would indicate that Zuhair on average is about 3 to 4 tenths a lap slower by comparison. And well, right now this man is absolutely on fire further down the field as he sets what is not quite a personal best but comes close. It's Jason Landry, looks up the inside here of Matt Best into turn 1. Best decides it's not worth fighting it, he wants to go after Zuhair, and Zuhair's had an error. What on earth has happened there to the IT West GMT driver? He's into the pits, it's a technical issue with the car by looks of things, and suddenly this Prime Championship comes completely unstuck for Shajee Zuhair, who was of course your Stage 1 Cup champion and dominated dominated the first half of the season, and now it's all ended in tears because Matthew Quinton is aware of that, and if Zuhair cannot get the car back out on circuit, it could mean that Quinton becomes the de facto Pro-Am champion for this season. We're not quite sure what happened there, but the car has been retired. They pulled it into the garage. Something has broken on Zuhair's car. I wonder whether it was a technical issue of some sort in the brake line or the steering wheel, but either way, Zuhair is out of this race and becomes our third retirement. But as our drivers make the way through, we confirms there in the YouTube chat, Shajee Zuhair, we will say hello to, and indeed a number of you who will say hello to in a second, saying his headset disconnected and a horrible technical issue to have literally in the final race of the season, and therefore it's all unfolded in the worst possible way, and you've got to feel for him, because right now Quinton, we're thinking all I've got to do is get this home. But as they make the way on around here, of course, with 35 minutes to go, and we don't want to put the commentator's curse on Quinton, anything can happen before you get to that final checkered flag. And as he roars his way on around, well, we do have a little bit of a quiet period as we make our way deeper and deeper in this race, although Kai Mariah's there deciding to be a little bit dramatic coming across the start-finish line straight. And I think trying to break the toe there versus Tanner Dibble and David Adeyemi, but I don't think you need to pull that aggressively out. But to be fair, perhaps he knows something we don't with regards to the draft of these LMP3 machines. But he comes on down there, a little bit of a lock-up from Jaden Calloway, who just made the apex of turn number 3. And meanwhile, further on down the order, Tom Bryce, the ITT West JMT driver, well, he's got the AM leaders of Joseph Blomel and Braden Melling right in front of him, and well, the two Eclipse designs, well, in fact, the Eclipse Racing Esports by Skyline Designs drivers, well, right now I think they're settling in formation for the time being, but I would imagine that it's going to be all about what will be the second stint of the race, where they absolutely go attack versus each other all the way to the finish. But as they make the way on down towards the braking zone, well, we were talking about Kai Mariah's only moments to go, and there's a bit of drama there as Tanner Dibble got very close for a brief moment and almost loses the rear of the car. Now that was coming out of what was turn number 8, and Adeyemi gets on past him as a result, and Dibble right now struggling, it would seem, but I think he might have been boxed in slightly with regards to what Kai Mariah's having a bit of an error at turn number 8. Elsewhere, Jaden Calloway and what is Julian Jones have swapped places off camera for P2, so therefore Calloway being allowed to go chasing. But here comes Tanner Dibble, who wants to go racing up the inside there of what is Adeyemi into turn number 13. Can't quite find it. Through 14 they descend, and as they do, wrapping on around, will Dibble absolutely close. Quinton's still there waiting to attack, and you've got to feel for Matthew Quinton right now, because I think a part of him says, you know what, I'd love to get involved in this scrap, but another part of him's got to surely say, well, hold the fort, ladies and gentlemen, because we've had an error. That's a spin, and that's Joseph Blomel, who's gone round, who was leading the AM class and was on the coattails of the top 10. The Eclipse Racing Esports by Skyline's Designs driver has gone round at what was, I believe, the turn 12, the turn 13 hairpin. In doing so, he's relinquished the lead of the AM class to Braden Melling. Now, if things were to finish as they currently stand, Braden Melling will be your Stage 2 AM Cup champion, but Joseph Blomel would still, if my maths is correct, be your overall AM Drivers champion for this season. But it's no major change in terms of their team's points either, given the fact that two drivers have swapped places, but they haven't lost any other positions. So Braden Melling right now will be grinning a little bit, given the fact this puts the Stage 2 Cup more closely in his hands, but he won't want his teammates to have too much drama, because I think he'd love to have a fight with him all the way to the very end. But as they head on around, Edward Irving here for Team Bearpo, also on a mission to attack as he looks to go after Glenn Bratton. Bratton in P3 in the class right now, and as we ride on board and look back from the rear of the 289, the American privateer looking comfortable there, and of course turn number 3 being the corner that called out Edward Irving much earlier in the race. He won't want to make the mistake again, and as they head in towards what will be turn number 5, we're coming on through the hairpin there. You can see Bratton just taking a bit more of a wider exit and really pushing those track limits to the maximum. Not sure that's quite an off track there, but if so, he'll have to be cognizant of the fact that he will be adding another instant point to his 15 allowed. If they go over 15, then it will be a drive-through penalty, and as the 289 driver makes his way onwards towards turns 10 and 11 via 9, well, right now that pressure from Edward Irving could be what makes him pick up the points needed to perhaps receive a drive-through penalty, and it wouldn't be the first time this season we've seen drive-through penalties decide a racing class. You may remember at the Circuit of the Americas, the heartbreak for Joseph Blomel, if my memory serves me correctly, where the win fell out of his hands literally at the final curtain. But oh goodness me, that's Edward Irving goes round there, losing the car, coming into what was excuse me, turn number 13, and that was a lock-up on the braking, and the rear brakes releasing before the fronts. No ABS in these cars, and the 242 driver going around and just a little bit eager with the braking pedal. But meanwhile, whilst all this is playing out, we've had a further drive. That's David Adeyemi, who's taking a bit of a scenic route there, and that's not normally how you do turn 3 into 4 and 5. And, well, I think David Adeyemi may have gone round at the hairpin, or at least the rear of the car kicked loose, sent him to the grass on the exit of the turn 3 hairpin, and by the time he recovered at turn number 4, he dropped down to P7, so that's put Matthew Quinton up into P5, Kaimarais into P6, Marais is behind Quinton, so I think there might have been an altercation between Adeyemi and Kaimarais. We haven't quite seen it on camera, but we've seen the aftermath of it, and as they make the way on around, well, it's so easy for our drivers to get it wrong, and David Adeyemi gets it wrong again, and that time being unforced under pressure in towards turn number 8, well, looks things out onto the gravel, catches the car together, prevents it from being buried in the gravel, but the 32 driver, now knowing that everything is going in the wrong direction, and the only thing he can do is calm it down, get those temperatures to settle down in the car, and then get himself back on the attacking path. But of course, has he taken too much life out of the rear tyres in particular, or does he now need to consider doing a tyre change in the pits? And when doing so, that will make his stationary time longer, but it might be worth more towards the end of the race if he can really make the most of that fresh compound. But meanwhile, after 12 laps of racing, 20 minutes complete, we've still got half an hour to go. Edwin Onofre leading right now in what is a 4.5 second gap ahead of Jaden Calloway, who's P2. Behind him, Julian Jones, his teammate at IT West, P3. We then have Tanner Dibble at P4 ahead of prime leader Matthew Quinton, who's P5. Kaimarais in P6, trying to break away from Jason Landry. P7 recovering right now after the early instance he was involved in. And then Matt Best, P8, second place prime driver ahead of David Adeyemi, with then what is Tom Bryce completing at your top 10. And behind him, you can see there, 1.7 seconds behind is your AM leader, P11, best the rest, Braden Melling, who right now is in a class of his own, it would seem. No mistakes so far, but let's not praise him too much, given the fact we've still got a way to go. And as our drivers continue to push onwards towards the halfway point of this race, we've got further battling coming here in the AM class, and this is between Aaron Tiggott and Jesse Jamison Jr. as they roar and romp their way down towards turn number 1, and we jump on board with the 286 driver as he's looking to go hunting after P6 of the class. And we've seen some great battles between these two and some of the rivals further down the AMPAC all season long. But Tiggott there having a poor run through too. You could see the car wanting to cut loose, but it's going to be Jameson Jr. who goes very deep on the exit of turn 3, loses the rear of the car, goodness me, and Tiggott has to take a place to go and decides to go the long way round on the outside there. Great reactions from Aaron Tiggott to see it coming, and well, Jesse Jameson Jr. to understand what happened there, given how deep he went into turn 3, you could see the car overextended the apex and he had to try and get it together to bring it off track. That would have put a lot of heat into the tyres, and then going into what's the right-left switch over for turn number 4, so getting the car to the right-hand side to open up turn 4 in order to take the speed. The car in the end, all the weight was just completely unsettled, and Jameson Jr. going around with that, plus a bit of excess tyre temperature, and the Votan Clan driver now knowing that he's got to try and chase after Aaron Tiggott as he makes his way in towards turn number 8. But as he makes his way on around, well, meanwhile, we look back up to Tanner Dibble. And well, Matthew Quinton absolutely glued to his backside here. So we've got some pit stops unfolded for the likes of Jason Landry, also for Matt Best and for Tom Bryce. James Logston in the pits again. Logston's already had one pit stop today. He's going for a second pit stop right now. And well, I think this might be working out worse and worse as we had an incident for Aaron Tiggott, I believe, that sent him around somewhere on circuit just as we cut away from him. But he's still ahead of Jameson Jr., so it might just be a bit of late braking. We'll have to wait and see. And in fact, that's Jameson Jr. in the gravel there, and that is at turn number 13. So wherever Jameson Jr.'s got it wrong, Aaron Tiggott's quite a way out the road, so I don't think there was an altercation between them. But what we can see is that Carl Peterson has Wesley Griffith behind him right now, and the Caboose Crew driver will want to try and keep Griffith behind him if he can for some overall points. But Wesley Griffith wants to make progress for Votan Clan, because right now, if things were to finish as they currently stand, Votan Clan would finish P3 in the team's championship and lose out to IT West JMT on the final close. And where's a good move up the inside there from Wesley Griffith, but runs a little bit wide. Peterson looks back to the inside into 2, but in the end, Wesley Griffith doing enough to take P17 and, well, continue his way up the order to get those critical points for Votan Clan to make sure they become runners-up in the team's championship. But as they make the way on around and up towards what will be at turn number 5, well, our drivers here continue to impress as S. Edward Irving making his way over the crest there and down in towards turn number 8. Meanwhile, Jason Lynn a little bit further behind. A driver was involved in some early drama, it must be said, albeit Lynn has recovered nicely to P12 since the opening couple of laps. He's P5 in the AM class. He's got Justin Bragan behind him for company, 7.5 tenths. He won't be too upset about that because right now Lynn is doing everything right to chase after a top 5 in the AM class, and well, top 5s are not easy in this AM class, it must be said, but he'll be hoping that this top 5 will come his way. As I look out my commentary booth window, David Addy's into the pit lane, and I believe there he is. The cameraman picks him up, and the ITC West driver right now making his way on down for what is likely to be his one and only stop of the day, and well, also perhaps a fast repair being put in there, given the fact quite a few drivers have received some bumps and scrapes on the open lap altercation through turns 1 through to 3, and therefore they'll want to try and fix things up before they go racing for the second stint. But as this race gradually seems to be calming down and now taking a bit more of a strategic approach, as soon as I say that, however, we see a lock-up from Mark Senegal there at turn number 5. Does seem as though at this point now it's all going to be just as much about survival and not encroaching upon what will be that pesky track limits penalty, and indeed the 15 instant points or plus for that drive-through penalty that could completely scupper a race. But the drivers that make the way onwards towards what will be at the end of the 25th minute. Jermaine Warren right now on a mission to try and take P6 in the Pro-Am class, whereas P20 overall for Mark Senegal getting very close there. You can see very eager to look for the move there through Portimão corner at turns 10 and 11, but the problem is in the fact because you've got a very particular line to take for the braking zone at 10 to set up the car for turn number 11, it's better to wait and instead be the patient hunter and make your way as close as possible up the back of your rival for turn number 14. And as he does so here, because the reason being he'll now pick up all the momentum as he sweeps his way into turn number 15, and if he can carry all the speed onto the start for this straight, it offers up an absolutely fantastic overtaking opportunity in towards what will be the next lap. But will we see either of them pull over? No, we won't, not in terms of coming into the pit lane. So they both have served pit stops quite recently, and as they make the way on down, Jermaine Warren is still waiting to attack Senegal as they head onto what for them is their 15th tour of the circuit under race conditions. But looking for towards the back of the pack, back up towards the very front, Edwin Onofre right now leading by 5 seconds and well maintaining that gap. In fact, last lap he was the fastest man out there and the only driver to set a 38. And by looks of things, I look through my data right now, the only driver all day so far under race conditions to set a 38 at all. The fastest lap being a 38.85 to nearest 100th, and Jaden Calloway, the second fastest driver out there at the moment, on 39s. And that last lap of 39.29, his best lap being a 39.24. And well, the number 37 driver here throwing everything at this, but at 9 it would seem that Edwin Onofre has just got a little bit more in the tank, and well, Onofre will be looking to open up as much of that gap as possible, but the flip side of the coin of course being, and Calloway will be hoping for this, that Onofre may just push himself to an error, and that is something that can happen even for the very best out there. As we also say hello to Goofy Looking Hippie in the YouTube chat. Also there we do have a couple more of you I do believe who we should say hello to, including Joseph Blamel, and well, great to see some of you here, and also Phantom02. I think we covered everyone. If I've forgotten you, I do apologise, and as our drivers continue to push on, we also say hello to Eric Logston there, and well, good evening to you, Eric, and I hope you're having a great weekend. And well, as the drivers make the way now into the second half of this race, Matthew Quinton still at arm's reach from the back of Tanner Dibble, but you've got to imagine here, the Briton right now will be thinking, you know what, it's not worth risking losing this win. All I need to do is sit behind Dibble, and that being of course the class win in the Pro-Am class, and Quinton can afford to save a lot of fuel here being in the draft. But you may have noticed there a bit of a lock-up and an under-rotation of the rear right tyre into the hairpin from Quinton. So the car's starting not to want to be as compliant under braking into turn 3. So Quinton right now might need to just adjust some braking points, or indeed just be a little more selective with that brake pedal. The 184 driver there bringing it together, but noting the gap between himself and Dibble is in fact opened up by 3 tenths as a result of an unseen error. In terms of, it doesn't look like he's made a mistake with the screen, but we can just see that rear right tyre not wanting to rotate anywhere near as much as normal, and therefore that has opened up the gap to Dibble. But as they head on down towards turn number 9 up towards 10-11, more pit stops here. Braden Milling into the pit lane from what was at the time second place in the AM class. We've also got Jason Lynn coming in, and well, he drops to what will be P21. He's in a bit of scrap of course with Aaron Tiggott, and Tiggott meanwhile has got Matt Best for company behind him, as Best looks up the inside here. Matt Best, of course, having taken his pit stop already. Tigger has yet to, and the Team Bearpoke driver will be hoping that he can just carry on and not get involved in the challenge of battling with other drivers out there who are not on the same race as him, given the respective strategies. But as he comes on down in towards turn number 5, meanwhile we look back to Carl Peterson here, and taking his pit stop, battling with Mark Senegal, goes very deep there through turn 5, and in the end the car locking up, and well, the Caboose Crew driver, I think, worried about how deep the car was going to go, may have applied a bit more brake to get it to stop, but in the end only almost sent himself round. In fact, that was at turn number 13, and almost there, completely losing it, having to go around through 14. So Carl Peterson there with one error, it suddenly becomes 2, and right now he'll be looking to settle down, given the fact he's got a long way to go, and he's already served his pit stop for the day. He won't want to make it another. Meanwhile, coming out of the pit lane, having just taken his pit stop, as Julian Jones leads this race, yet to pit, so he's not going to let Edwin Onofre have all the fun at the front of the field. Onofre leaves the pit lane in what will be P2, and surely for Edwin Onofre, this is now going to be a comfortable run to the finish, presuming he can get the car switched back on all the way to that checker flag. Julian Jones will throw everything at this to try and make sure that Onofre doesn't feel comfortable, but when you do have a pit stop like that and you came into the pits for a good 5-second lead, what else can you do? Because Jaden Calloway right now, after the pit stop, the gap is now up to 7.2 seconds. Calloway's pit stop stationary time was 1 second longer compared to Edwin Onofre, and well, that being the difference between the two drivers, and Jaden Calloway right now just knowing that things are not going his way. But then again, it could all happen on the final lap. You never know what can happen, albeit we've got relatively clear skies here today in Portugal, so I don't think we're going to be seeing any rain. There are some clouds about, but they're not looking ominous or threatening whatsoever, and as Calloway makes his way in towards what will be turn number 8. It has been a rainless season this year in terms of the Falling into LMP3 Championship for 2024, hosted by the Middle of Pack Racing League. We have had a couple of rounds where there's been the possibility of rain, particularly at Fuji last time out, but we've not seen a drop of rain, and well, these LMP3 machines, they can race in it, but we have not had the pleasure of seeing how they contend with it. But meanwhile, what we are seeing the pleasure of is Braden Melling battling here with Glenn Bratton, and well, both drivers here haven't taken their pit stops, and Melling right now in fact falling behind Bratton as a result of his pit stop, a much longer pit stop, and Melling, I do believe, changing tyres in the pit, and that cost him some additional time, and looking for an opportunity to find his way back into P2 of the AM class. Bratton right now will know he's going to have to try and hold on to this position for 19 minutes plus that final lap if it is going to be possible. But as they head over the rise and out of my sight in terms of coming into the pit lane is Julian Jones. Well, meanwhile, Braden Melling here, who we are focused on in terms of our camera, targeted behind Bratton, still trying to absolutely mount the pressure on as they come through turn 9 up towards 10 and 11, left into double right they go. Melling here deciding to let the car run a bit deeper, trying to set up a cutback move here. Bratton notices it's coming and just drags the car a little bit on the apex, and you notice now that Melling, as a result, has had to back off there, albeit very smart positioning from both drivers. Bratton goes deep, that doesn't cost him too much, but you have to be careful now about moving the car to the left-hand side aggressively here into 14. He won't want to overheat the left-hand side tyres, particularly that rear left, that will be taking a bit of a punishment now, given the circuit is a clockwise circuit, so left-hand side tyres have to do more work than the right, but as they make the way over the crest, Braden Melling falling back there to 9/10, and Glenn Bratton nailing that corner exit, and Melling now having to get himself set up once again. As they charge on down the pit lane straight, well, you can see, meanwhile, Wesley Griffith and Justin Braggan both into the pit lane now on your timing tower on the left-hand side, and therefore releasing our two ambassadors up the overall order to some more places, albeit we've still got what is plenty of time to go, and they could become contenders in this battle, given their respective pace, albeit we have had pit stops from everybody now in terms of what is expected to be their mandated pit stop for at least fuel, so therefore it is now going to be a charge all the way to the finish. But meanwhile, we do look to it Jason Landry, who in all of this up to P5 now, having fallen all the way to the back of the running order much earlier on, and Jason Landry really showing that he is one of the masters of what is the recovery drive. When it all goes wrong, it only seems to encourage this man even more, and the Sunday GT Turtles driver absolutely flying, and right now less than 3 seconds off the back of Matthew Quinton, who you've briefly seen in the distant shot of the camera, and well, as the number 5 makes its way on around through turn number 15. There's a reason why he is a multi-time pro champion in the Middle of the Pack Racing League Series, and right now he may not be on course for the championship title today, but he's not going to end his day without giving it everything and expending all his energy in that car as he heads on to what is lap number 20. Further back, Matt Best here in a battle side by side with Kai Moraes, the second breakfast driver being past him. Moraes made his way up the inside and around goes David Adeyi, just taking a bit too much speed, plus the lack of downforce and the dirty air as well was in front, unsettling the car. No questions asked to the IT West driver. He's got it back up to speed immediately, and well, he'll be frustrated at that, given the fact he was at a three-way fight, and well, now it's a two-way fight as Kai Moraes goes defensively down to turn 5. Best is going to look around the outside, and meanwhile, that's the car turning itself around. That is Jason Landry, who's had a spin, was the hairpin, and well, using the inside runoff area to get it righted. So I'll praise for Landry, only moments to go. Perhaps we praised him too soon, but the fact that he's now got to make it a slight further recovery, albeit he hasn't lost the place as a result of that. He has just lost what is the best part of 5 seconds to Matthew Quinton, and well, he's been able to avoid getting caught up in this battle, which would have definitely put a big stumbling block in his race. But meanwhile, we look back from the rear of the number 88 as they head in towards turns 10 and 11, and as you can see, Best there trying a similar approach to what we saw from Braden Manning, who has off camera found his way past Glenn Bratton quite recently in their battle for its P2 in the AM class, P11 overall. But Best go look around the outside here as they head through the left-hander of turn number 13 in towards 14 they go, and will Best setting up every single flick back run in terms of trying to cut back from outside to inside, inside to outside, but nothing is working right now because Moraes is seeing it coming every time, but it is keeping the Brazilian driver guessing, and that's one thing you can do, and of course it helps to distract your rival, and if he's got to keep guessing where you're going, at some point surely he's going to make a mistake. Moraes here briefly trying to get to the inside to cut the tie. He can't double weave, and therefore he's not allowed to move back to that inside line too far, as it would be a double move before the braking zone, and Moraes at the end takes too much apex curb, it unsettles the car, and well, it was just the rear right tyre bounced upwards slightly, and that releases Matt Best into P6, and there's the mistake we said that would come through what was Matt Best just putting on insurmountable pressure, and Kai Moraes, to be fair, gave it everything, but that time just gave it a little bit too much, and Best now up into P6 as he makes his way onwards to chase after Matthew Quinton for the win in the Prime class. Albeit Best here right now, he really will feel as though he's the bridesmaid of the Prime class of the Stage 2 Cup, given the fact that he has finished second to Matthew Quinton more times than anybody else in the second half of the season. And well, Matthew Quinton, meanwhile, just running away up front, 8 seconds clear as Best continues to try and whittle that gap down. Meanwhile, in the AM class, this is Glenn Bratton versus S. Edward Irving, and Braden Manning has in fact fallen behind these two. So something has happened to Manning quite recently, and we believe it might have been an error subdescription, but it has sent what is the Eclipse Racing Esports by Skyline Designs driver backwards, albeit it's entertainment for us now, and Glenn Bratton is going to be thinking to himself inside that car, well, if they're going to keep spinning like this, I'll keep taking the places, but I prefer it if they didn't keep catching up to me. Because right now, he may not be the fastest driver out there, Bratton, in the 289, but the one thing we can say about him is he's one of the most consistent in the AM class, and he has been rewarded for that consistency this season, and it really has been a breakthrough year for the 289 driver across middle of the pack Racing League Series, in the fact picking up his first podiums in the GR86 Championship, if my memory serves me correctly, and that in the LMP3 was taking his first ever class win of his career, and has had multiple podiums and is chasing after another. And you absolutely love to see a driver who's risen so far in the 3 years that I've seen him racing at middle of the pack Racing League Series. He really has come a long way as he makes his way on down through turn at number 40. But as he does so, S. Edward Irving still chasing after him. Differences in lines there as Kai Moraes into the pit lane, I suspect, for a new set of tyres, and also for a look at the rear right suspension of his LMP3, given the impact to inside curb. But that is going to put him behind. In fact, it means he's out ahead of this battle, and in fact, Kai Moraes not stationary in the pit lane at all. It was a drive-through penalty for us reaching the instant point amount, as here comes Edward Irving up the inside of what is Bratton into turn 1, and it just catches Bratton out, and Irving going all in. It's a lovely move for the 242 driver, moves into P2 in the AM class, and will now try to break away as they head up the crest in towards turn number 4. And meanwhile, Braden Manning will be thinking, okay, now's my time to go for this, albeit he'll be coldest to the fact he's made a few mistakes this race so far. He won't want to make another one as they head down towards the turn 5 hairpin. And S. Edward Irving started to pull away a little bit already. The gap between himself and Bratton up towards 8/10. But then again, we have seen also Irving go around a couple of times, and therefore Bratton will just sticking to his mantra, which is all I've got to do is keep the car pointed in the right direction, and my rivals will make the mistakes for me. And as they come out of turn number 8 over towards 9 and 10, we can see Melling here nowhere near close enough to really put pressure at this point. 7/10 is close, but it's not enough to be in your rival's head. And I get the feeling here He might be targeting certain sectors of the circuit and certain corners to be able to go on the offensive in order to preserve the tyres to a degree, and one of them coming up here, and that's the run through 13 through to 15 as he heads into left-hand hairpin. The car just stepping a little bit deep there, a tiny deviation from where he was positioned the car. You can see he went to turn it and had to re-straighten the steering wheel because the car had not settled under initial braking, and as he makes one out, that's going to open the gap up by another 2/10. He'll be in the tow through 15, but he's nowhere near close enough to be able to put the pressure on he would like. Meanwhile, whilst all of this is going on, Julian Jones has recently had a bit of a lock-up, I believe, into turn number 7 and 8, and therefore losing a bit of time to Jaden Calloway. They're getting out to 8.5 seconds, and Matthew Quinton, well, too far away to really get involved at this point, but it would seem as though the privateer here in P4 right now, where he's just enjoying this race and keeping his head down all the way to the finish, as we've had a car go off there, and I believe that is Jermaine Warren, who's taken a bit of a trip, a very long trip there, or at least something's happened to Jermaine Warren, because he was the last driver to come through what was turn number 11 and would have kicked up that lock-up brake smoke. Millpack Racing driver, in fact, we're getting some data come through here as he is a lap down now on the leaders, that he did have a bit of an error at turn number 7 and through to 8, and then Julian Jones came into the scene of the incident, so I wonder if Jones had to take some evasive action to avoid the wayward 113. We're just guessing here, we don't know for certain, we haven't seen what's happened, but we can see that Jermaine Warren's into the pit lane, so there may be some facts in what we're guessing. But meanwhile, we look to Glenn Bratton as he continues his battle for P3 in the AM class, with Braden Mellon still behind as they make the way onwards now towards turns 10 and 11. And that lovely scenic view there, we can see how they go all the way through the troughs and peaks of the circuit, and now back into another trough here on the run through turn number 12 before peaking up towards turn number 13. And it really is a circuit all about flow, as Bratton here right now putting on a clinical drive and still chasing after Edward Irving, who is 1.3 seconds clear and is little by little pulling away. But Bratton's not letting him just simply charge off into the distance as the drivers make their way towards the end of this lap, and Braden Melling loses it out of 14 and just pushing a little bit too hard on the rear, refusing to comply. And with 10 minutes to go now, we are into unknown territory for the tyre life. We've only been here once before, and that was at round number 4 at Le Mans, but the Le Mans circuit being a very different style of circuit, given the fact very aggressive on the brakes and fuel consumption, whereas here at Portimão, very aggressive on the left-hand side tyres. And Braden Mellon right now just learned all about that as he heads on down. Meanwhile, new fastest lap of the race. Last lap of 38.74 for this man, Jason Landry, who's now showing that Edwin Onofre's got company if he wants to be taking fastest lap, because they're the only two drivers to set 38s all day, and Landry at 100 faster than Edwin Onofre to steal away the fastest lap points as the Sunday GT Turtles driver makes his way into turn 14. And I wonder if we'll see a response from Edwin Onofre, who, to be fair, doesn't need to respond to become the Stage 2 Cup champion in the Pro class, nor if he wants to become the overall Pro Drivers champion. All he needs to do right now is stay ahead of Jaden Calloway, and with an 8-second gap almost over Calloway, he's doing exactly that right now as he heads on down towards turn number 5. But as he does so, we've still got more to come. Still 9 minutes on the clock plus the final lap. Most of our battles now seem to be at a bit of a distance, albeit Wesley Griffith is closing on Jason Lynn for what is P14. And reminder, of course, that for all the drivers here, regardless of whether they are Pro, Prime or AM, they're all competing for overall finishing position points first and foremost. That's what they score on in their respective classes, is their overall finishing position, and with 50 for the win, all the way deducted down to what is 0 for what would be if we had 50 drivers, well, in fact 1 point for 50th place if we had 50 drivers on the grid. Of course, we started this season with 50 entrants. It does mean that for all the drivers here, you are to battle with everybody. You can be tactical and choose who you want to battle with, but every position matters. And on top of that, in the AM and the Prime classes, it's 3 bonus points for first place, 2 for second, and 1 for third in your class. But it's all coming down to the overall points first and foremost, as Wesley Griffith here knows all about it as he chases after Jason in for a little bit more. But as they head on down towards what will be turn number 1, well, what can Griffith do as he heads in towards that braking zone? Well, not quite close the gap up enough, but he does close it there by 2 tenths under retardation, and therefore the 162 driver, I think right now, we're feeling as though everything's coming together as we ride aboard the nose code here of what is Wesley Griffith's car, already on the front body work, as Lynn there having a little bit of a sideways moment over the crest of 4, and was just taking too much apex curve for the steering angle he was applying and almost having the rear snap loosened, but Griffith will see that and want to put the pressure on. Lynn goes a bit deep there, and now that's going to enable Wesley Griffith just to take the place off of him, or will it, as now they're going to be too wide coming up through turn at number 6, and it's going to be Lynn on the outside, but in the end Lynn backs out there as being, well, Wesley Griffith takes the racing line and moves into P14. New fastest lap of the race. Now it's a 38.55 set by, you guessed it, Jason Landry, who's moved up into P5. And, well, there's the man continues to charge on. He's now 4 seconds off of Matthew Quinton and closing on Quinton at a rate of 1 second a lap. And if we do some quick mental mathematics, it's 4 seconds between the two of them at the start of this lap. It does mean that Jason Landry could have an opportunity to battle with Quinton for P4 on the final lap of the race if he continues this rate of closure. If he makes it even quicker, he may be there on the penultimate lap, but how far could Jason Landry go right now? Of course, he'll want every point he can, and he's not a man to give up even on the final lap, but we also have to imagine how far can those tyres go, given the fact they're still producing faster laps, but the problem is there is going to become a crossover point whereby he won't have the life left in the car anymore. And indeed, as he makes his way in towards turns 10 and 11, when will he find it? Will it be on one of these laps, or will it be after the race? Well, meanwhile, as he makes his way up through in towards turn at number 13, there's Quinton cutting through the camera, and we focus on him for a brief moment. And Matthew Quinton right now just simply managing his race, and he doesn't need to do anything spectacular, because if things finish as they currently stand, he will become your Pro-Am champion with the retirement of Shajee Zuhair due to those technical issues earlier on. And, well, as Quinton makes his way up through right now, he'll be also your Stage 2 Cup Pro-Am champion, and, well, it would be double glory for him as he heads across that line. So it's a personal best of 39.488. Jason Landry a 38.790. So the rot in terms of the gap has been lessened to a degree, 7 tenths that time around, but Landry is absolutely gobbled up the time and loses the rear at turn 1. And what we only said moments ago, how far could he push it? And immediately our words come to life there as the Canadian driver loses it on the corner. And, well, that is going to say to him now, okay, the tyres haven't got it left, and they are going to be absolutely boiling hot for the next few quarters as he tries to settle it down. Glenn Bratton as well has gone round, and that is up at turn 13. That release is Braden Melling up into P3 in the AM class, and the man who we've been calling Mr. Consistent all season finally hits a poor moment as he brings it back together now. But Glenn Bratton, well, he's going to be frustrated at that, and could it be, with 5 minutes left, would any driver who has a spin now potentially be forced over the 15 instant point count, given the fact, keeping in mind, it's 1 for an off track, it's 2 points for a loss of control if deemed by the automated iRacing shielding system. And was Bratton makes his way down the start finish straight in P4 in the AM class, with Braden Melling 2.7 seconds up the road. Well, Bratton right now, I think, will just settle in and try and get it to the end, as meanwhile Wesley Griffith has found his way clear of Jason Lynn. Here is Lynn in P15, chasing after Griffith, but I think more interested in chasing down Bratton, who is only 2.7 seconds away and coming to congratulate. As the drivers made their way onwards through turn at number 4 and up towards 5, will mean, while we do look a little bit further down the order to Jermaine Warren, who has enjoyed a bit of a ding-dong battle with Mark Senegal earlier on. Well, it's Senegal now, the best part of what is 16 seconds up the road from him. And Jermaine Warren, I think at this point, middle of the pack race, in the last of our runners in this race, and he'll be the last of our classified finishers should the race conclude under its current procession, given the fact that he will finish with 5 laps, the leader being only 1 lap down. Well, we did have 26 starters and currently 19 runners out there, 4 off of the lead lap. And Jermaine Warren, there you can see the car sliding away from him, coming out of 11, and, well, the body language of the car, whether it's his or 30 other cars up and down the order right now, you can definitely tell those tyres are heading towards the end of their life, and everyone right now trying to find the last little bits of grip in order to be able to keep it together. But as he makes his way on around and up towards what will be turn number 15, there's not much left with regards to the tyre life out there for a good number of drivers. But meanwhile, for this man, well, he just seems to have enough in the tank to keep it going a little bit longer, because he makes his way of return at number 14. 3 minutes left on the clock. By the time he reaches turn 1, it will be at the best part of 2.5 minutes. 2 laps to go, and Edwin Onofre right now with a 7.8 second gap. That gap has stabilised somewhat, but he crosses the line on a 39.699. He doesn't need to do anything incredible, as meanwhile Jaden Calloway gives chase with a personal best of 38.95, so his first 38 of the weekend. And as he comes down towards turn number 1, Calloway will know that right now he needs some magic to happen. He needs Onofre to have an error, or alternatively something far worse to happen for him to be able to get close enough here, because right now, number 37 driver, it's all slipped away from him despite everything he's thrown at it today, and that is not to besmirch him whatsoever. Calloway has definitely been one of the key contenders of this Pro class all season, and somewhat perhaps gone under the radar in the Stage 1 Cup compared to the Stage 2 Cup. Small lock up there. Calloway's even feeling the bite right now of tyre life and the heat of the brakes, but Edwin Onofre has just been unassailable over the long distance. But as we look back to Wesley Griffith here, still chased after Glenn Bratton. He's got close and trying to find just one more place. We got to P13. Well, meanwhile, we've had Matt Best have a bit of an error and just been passed by David Adeyeye, and that was for P6 overall. No change in class position, given that Adeyeye is a pro driver. Best is a pro-am, meanwhile, but as he brings himself back together, Best having a small error into what was, I do believe, turn 8, and, well, just losing one place as a penalty for it. But knowing there's still more to come, and well for Best, he has got a comfortable gap of 12 seconds to Tom Bryce, and will the ITT West JMT driver, as he makes his way down to turn at number 5, will know, and indeed the whole team will know, that right now things finish as they currently stand, he will be part of that team that make it P2 in the Teams Championship, and will be making ITT West 1-2. The speed of things coming to a close. Edwin Onofre makes his way onto the final lap as the white flag waves, and as he does so, there's not long left right now for a championship crown that surely is beckoning, as Jaden Calloway, that last lap for Onofre at 39.49, for Calloway at 39.68. It looks as though Calloway may have just decided it's not happening, and therefore Onofre right now just needs to keep it calm and bring it on home over the remaining 2 miles of the circuit he's got to traverse. But as the 99 driver makes his way out of turn number 5, he'll see the traffic in front of him, and he'll know that with 7.6 seconds to spare with regards to battling with his rival, he doesn't need to catch that traffic. He doesn't need to do anything crazy now other than keep it pointed in the right direction. Meanwhile, in the AM class, Joseph Blamel, P9, the Eclipse Racer Esports by Skyline's Designs driver. He's looking all set here and comfortable for what will be his championship crown in the overall category. And, well, with Braden Melling being in P3 in the AM class and S. Edward Irving be between the two of them, it'll be looking as though it'll be a 1-2 for them in the overall AM championship. And it will be Braden Melling who takes home the crown in the AM Stage 2 Cup. And, well, what a place to be. But as he roars his way onto his final lap, meanwhile, we look at the man who earlier on this season, he took the win at Imola in the colours of Ferrari. He took a second win in round number 5. He took a third win in round 6, and he takes a fourth win in round number 8. But more importantly, at Portimão, he is your Pro Drivers Champion for the season. Edwin Onofre wins in Portugal by 7 seconds in the end over Jaden Calloway, who takes the runner-up spot there on the grid and in the championship at ITT West, and seals the deal in the Teams Championship for the team. Julian Jones brings on home P3 for ITT West JMT, and a result that may be enough to move them into P2 in the Teams Championship, depending on how the rest of the field finishes. Matthew Quinton, he shakes it from side to side because he knows that he's your prime champion for this season, P4 overall, and prime winner here today and Stage 2 Cup champion with it. Jason Landry in the end, he recovered as far as he could, but P5 was his limit here, but a great drive from the Sunday GT Turtles driver. And then it will be none other than David Adeyeye for ITT West, who finishes P6 there on a challenging day today. As meanwhile, Matt Best takes P7 at the checkered flag, P2 in the prime class, and is your runner-up in what will be at the Stage 2 Cup in the primes, and third place in the Pro-Am Championship overall. Tom Bryce, with a P8 and third place in the prime class, seals the deal for ITT West JMT as what will be the runner-up spot, and it's a 1-2 for ITT West in the Teams Championship. Joseph Blamel, meanwhile, now heads to his line, and for the Eclipse Racing Esports by Skyline's Designs driver, he's done justice, he's done it all, and he's your AM Drivers Champion overall for this season for Eclipse Racing Esports by Skyline Designs, ahead of what will be teammate Braden Melling, who will be coming through shortly to complete a race to P11 as there's Kyle Rise P10. Braden Melling will take P11 there, as it's all gone wrong for a driver across the line, and S. Edward Irving's into the pit lane, and well, for Braden Melling, racing, and it's going to be the Stage 2 Cup that falls to him. Glenn Bratton in the end will take P3 in the AM class there and finishes his campaign on another podium, and will Mr. Consistent finds his podium right at the close with a penalty at the end of the race at S. Edward Irving and Jason Lynn finishing P13 between the two of them. Wesley Griffith was P15, Aaron Tickett P16, Carl Peterson and Mark Senegal finished your runners. As we can see up there, what is a few donuts being done by drivers, including Julian Jones. He's celebrating for IT West JMT, as is Tom Bryce there, because they know it's a 1-2 for IT West, with the senior team taking the overall Teams Championship crown, but the JMT team taking the runner-up spot, and they'll be absolutely ecstatic at that. And, well, Joseph Babel and Braden Mellon there, knowing it's a 1-2 in the AM Drivers' Championship, and, well, their team has also brought on home the Stage 2 AM Cup, and that being in the hands of this man, Braden Mellon, and congratulations to them. They really have been a force to be reckoned with as they call it on down into the donut zone at turn number 5. But as they do, and I try to celebrate, well, that is the final race of the season, ladies and gentlemen, and with it, let's take a look at those race results subject to Eddie Stewart's inquiries, and here they are. And as we can see, after an absolutely incredible 50 minutes of racing here at the Portimão circuit in Portugal, or the Algarve International Circuit as it's known in full, Edwin Onofre, your overall winner and pro winner by 7.3 seconds over Jaden Calloway. The privateer absolutely unstoppable, and after he took the lead in this race, albeit having to battle his way through from the back of the Pro Pack, he never looked back. Runner-up to Jaden Calloway for ITT West, and it was a double podium for ITT West with their JMT driver of Julian Jones at P3, and they threw everything at this one to try and usurp Edwin Onofre, but they couldn't keep the man behind them. But still, congratulations to our podium finishers overall there. What a drive from all three of them. Matthew Quinton at P4, your pro and winner. The privateer in the end, just missing out on the overall podium, but I don't think he's going to be sad about that, because what a drive to wrap up his campaign and take another overall top 5 and give himself a huge haul of points to end the season in style. Jason Landry at P5 there behind the privateer, the Sunday GT Turtles driver, doing a fantastic job to make a recovery to P5, even with the spins later on in the race. And then ITT West, David Addy, P6 there, right in the thick of it for the podium, but it wasn't to be when all was considered. Matt Best, runner-up in the Pram class, P7 overall, the second breakfast driver, and in the end not quite able to hold a candle to the path that was trailblazed by Matthew Quinton, but still able to take another podium, and really has been the second place man for the second half of the season in the Pram class, ahead of Tom Bryce, ITT West JMT, the man who sealed the deal alongside teammate for Julian Jones for ITT West JMT to be second place in the team's championship ahead of Fotan Clan. Joseph Lamel, your AM winner, P9 there overall for Eclipse Racing Esports by Skyline Designs. A fantastic drive there from the American in the 234 ahead of Kyle Rise, P10 there, the Brazilian driver who enjoyed the thick of all the battling, but in the end it all fell away from it in the closing stages on that second stint. Braden Melling, Bester SP11, the Eclipse Racing Esports by Skyline Designs driver, making a 1-2 for the team in the AM class, and with that them sealing the majority of the AM Championship crowns for this season. Glenn Bratton, your third place finisher in the AM class today, P12 overall, the privateer just staying ahead of Jason Lynn by a second at the line, and then S. Edward Irving, P14 there for Team Bear Pope, with that dive to the pits at the end, signalling, I suspect, a post-race time penalty. Wesley Griffith, the first driver to finish a lap down there for Fotan Clan, ahead of Aaron Tiggett for Team Bear Pope, and then Carl Peterson and Mark Senegal also followed suit for Caboose Crew and Sunday GT Turtles respectively. And as we can see, your last finisher of this race, a lap down, was P19 at Jermaine Warren there for middle of the pack racing in a difficult race day, but did enjoy a great little scrap at the midpoint of the race between himself and good friend outside of the circuit, an old rival on the circuit of Mark Senegal. We had multiple retirements in this race, starting with Tanner Dibble at P20 there, albeit all these drivers classified as non-finishers, as they did not retire within 5 laps of the race leader finishing. And as we can see, Tanner Dibble there for DNA Motorsports, it all went wrong too late in the day, as it did for Justin Bragan for middle of the pack racing, and the same there for Jesse Jemison Jr. for Fotan Clan, who came into the pits after what was a further race complete, an issue with the car being detected, and they weren't able to fix it. James Logsdon as well carried on as long as he could after the open lap autocad qualification, but in the end, the Team Bearpoke machine giving way in the 42. And we also had the unfortunate retirement for the Pro-Am Championship contender, Shajee Zuhair, who, despite being the Stage 1 Pro-Am Cup champion, was not able to replicate that here today for the Stage 2 Cup, alternatively in the overall Pro-Am Drivers' Championship with that premature retirement. Nick Bader and Dominic Ford not able to make it to the grid, so therefore we did have 26 planned starters, but in the end we only had 19 finishers, of which we had 14 of them on the lead lap. And goodness me, ladies and gentlemen, what a day it has been to wrap up the racing in the Middle Pack Racing League, falling into LMP3 Championship for 2024 with round 8 of 8 here at Portimão. And now the big question is, as the circuit falls silent and the roar of V8 engines is no more, the big question is, who are your champions? Let's get them all confirmed, and indeed we do have all those confirmed standings, and here we go then. These are after any potential instance here at Portimão. Goodness, is the post-round broadcast, and as we can see, starting with the Stage 2 Cup champions, the Pro class in particular, Edwin Onofre sealing the deal with 5 points over Jaden Calloway. Jason Angie fights his way through to P3 at the end of the season, and an absolutely brilliant turnaround, and with the absence of Eric Nickens today, Nickens being relegated to a P4, but still holding Julian Jones just about. Kai Mariah's P6 on 104 points, head of David Adie, and it was Dominic Ford, Tanner Dibble, and James Logston to complete the top 10, and Carl Ranieri P11 best of the rest there. We then come on to the Pro-Am class, and in at the Stage 2 Cup, in the Pro-Ams, it was Matthew Quinton who took the glory by 14 points over Matt Best, with Tom Bryce finishing P3 ahead of Wesley Griffith, and, well, Bryce just edging ahead of the Photon Clan driver, and rather significant that edging ahead for the purposes of the Teams Championship, as well as here in the Stage 2 Cup, and Shajee Zuhair a P5 falling to 5th right at the end. Jermaine Warren at P6 ahead of Aaron Lahr, and then we had Nick Bader, Mark Sinel and Garrett Chavez completing the top 10, with Justin Bragg and last but not least in P11. And then coming on to the AM class, confirmation there, Braden Melling, your winner by 9 points over Glenn Bratton, who did enough to be runner-up with Joseph Blumel P3. Aaron Tiggott just missing out on the top 3 there by 2 points versus Blumel. How close it was between the two of them at the end, but an unfortunate result today for Aaron Tiggott, costing him when he needed it most, and there's Edward Irving meanwhile rounding off the top 5 on 84 points to the 72 of Carl Peterson. Jason Seelin, Roger Ganesh and Jesse Jemison Jr. wrapped up your Stage 2 Cup AM order. And therefore, we want to give a huge congratulations, not just to all of our drivers who competed this season, but in particular to our Stage 2 Cup champions, and here they are. To reiterate once again, in the Pro class, the number 99 driver, Edwin Onofre, the privateer, who took 3 wins out of 4 in the Stage 2 Cup and absolutely was unstoppable. In the Pro-Am class, to Matthew Quinton, the privateer in the 184, who absolutely led the way and just seemed to find a huge boost in the second half of the season. And in the AM class, despite the pressure put on him by his teammates, his rivals, and also the automated stewards, Braden Melling in the 213 for Eclipse Race at Esports by Skyline Designs, just about getting it over the finish line. But now, coming on to the overall championships. And we start, of course, with the overall Drivers' Championships for this season, and in particular the Pro class. And as we can see, Edwin Onofre, your champion by 13 points over Jaden Calloway. It was been a season-long strife between the two of them, but when the wins and podiums were added up, that was where the difference was. And Onofre to take 4 out of 8 wins, including today, that was where the difference lay. Eric Nickens, in the end, just holding off David Adie by a single point for 3rd place. So close between the two of them, and Jason Lange making his way back into the top 5 at the last hurdle by a point over Tanner Dibble. And you have to consider that Jason Lange was not able to make 2 of the rounds this season, if my memory serves me correctly, and, well, therefore just sneaking his way into the top 5 with the DNA Motorsports driver just missing out there on the top 5 but taking P6 instead. James Logston, P7 ahead of Julian Jones, with Kai Moraes and Jordan Butler round off your top 10. And a special mention to the Brazilian of Kai Moraes, who did a fantastic amount of work out of circuit, only being on the grid for what's the Stage 2 Cup, but to finish P9 there and be chasing after the top 6 already in only 4 rounds of racing. He is somebody, if he was able to make a full season, I get the feeling he could be a championship contender, and we do hope to see him on the grid in 2025. Outside the top 10, Dominic Ford, of course, a special mention to our winner in race 1 of the season at the Spa-Francorchamps circuit, and not quite able to make all rounds. What could have been if he was able to make them all? Well, that's the question we can ask ourselves for an eternity, with Christian De Soto, Carl Ranieri and John Lauzon rounding off the Pro Championship. And then comes to the Pro-Am class. And here we see Matthew Quinton in the end, your winner following that retirement for Shajee Zuhair and taking victory by 25 points in an absolutely brilliant title fight between the two of them. That was all about momentum swings between the first half and the second half of the season. Matt Best managed to inch out Wesley Griffith for P3 by 10 points, with Tom Bryce taking P5 ahead of Jermaine Warren, and then Mark Senegal, Garrett Chavez, Aaron Lahr and Justin Braggon rounding off what was a very close second half of the top 10. Nick Bader, P11, not quite able to fight his way back into the top 10, unfortunately, and having to finish P11 ahead of Justin Delano by 5 points. Then Jake Gertson, Jacob Wally, and Sean Symes completing your championship standings. And then lastly, coming to the AM class, Joseph Blamel, your winner by 10 points over his teammate Braden Melling, but it's a 1-2 for Eclipse Racing Esports by Skyline Design, and what a way to take the crown for Joseph Blamel to be the leader of a 1-2 alongside your teammate. Glenn Bratton holding on to P3 there, and a brilliant show in his best ever championship campaign so far in his MPRL racing career, ahead of S. Edward Irving by 17 points, and congratulations to S. Edward Irving for leapfrogging his way up into the top 5 to take P4, given the fact that at the end of the first half of the season, he was just about holding on to what was the top 10. Aaron Tiggott just behind him by 6 points, ahead of Carl Peterson, and then Ethan Rolfe, Jason C. Lynn, Jesse Jarrison Jr., and Roger Ganesh completing that top 10. Alexander Freslone, P11, best of the rest, ahead of Navru Kumar, and then Tim Chong, Todd Miller, and Kurt Smith rounded out your AM Oval Drivers' Championship. But before we come on to reiterating our championship crown winners, we do of course have the team standings, and here they are confirmed. And as we can see, ladies and gentlemen, it's an ITD West 1-2 with ITD West on 605 points, their JMT outfit P2 on 550, and congratulations to the two teams. It's the first time we've had that in Middle of the Pack Racing League history where we have had two sister teams lock out the top 2 spots in the team's championship. Photan Clan, they held on to P2 for the majority of the season, but on the final hurdle they lost out and fell to P3 on 509 points, but managed to make sure that Eclipse Racing Esports by Skyline Designs did not steal their place on the podium. From the P4 team, it was Sunday GT Turtles, a further 17 points behind, who ran off the top 5, just ahead of Team Bearpo, and a sizable gap to DNA Motorsports, who found themselves in no man's land in P7, with Second Breakfast just out-edging Middle of the Pack Racing and Kinda Fast Racing team in the hunt for the final 3 spots of the top 10. Vice Motorsports P11 ahead of Caboose Crew, with Breakfast for Dinner and Slipstream Slofts completing the championship standings. And well, let's give you the reminder then, ladies and gentlemen, of your overall championship winners, and here they are. Congratulations firstly to our Pro Class Oval Drivers Champion of Edwin Onofre, the number 99 Privateer. Congratulations as well to our 184 Privateer of Matthew Quinton in the Prime class, and in the AM class, a huge congratulations to 234's Joseph Blamel for Eclipse Racing Esports by Skyline Designs, a fantastic way to end his championship campaign. Our team's championship winners, of course, ITD West there, the combination of David Adeyi and Jaden Calloway, the 2 pro drivers in the 32 and 37 respectively, showing exactly how it's done when it comes to being teams champions. Now, of course, we've got some more awards to go through. And many of you may remember at the start of the season, we did say that much like in any Middle of the Pack Racing League series, we do have a raffle prize whereby all drivers who have completed at least 7 rounds of the championship are entered by default. Well, we are very pleased to say that after the raffle was conducted, your winner of the raffle was none other than the 289 driver of Glenn Bratton in the AM class, the Privateer, taking that win. Indeed, I believe his first monetary prize of his Middle of the Pack Racing League career as well. And well, it just goes to show you that perseverance and consistency pays off, and well, Lady Luck may have shone on him with regards to that raffle prize, but I get the feeling it's rewarded him for his hard efforts, so congratulations to Glenn. We also did have a competition which was sponsored by Bear Pope, the racing team, the North American racing team, and that was for the safest Bear Pope award, or the driver who picked up the least number of instant points over at least 7 rounds of racing. And well, here are your final finishers. 14 drivers made it into the safest Bear Pope award tables, having completed at least 7 rounds. And as we can see, your winner with the lowest number of instant points was the prime driver of Tom Bryce with only 19 instant points over 8 rounds of racing. If you do the quick mathematics on that, that's just over 2 a round. And when you consider the instant point limit of 15, congratulations to Tom Bryce, who found himself in the thick of the racing in practically every round, but he managed to minimise the instant points like nobody else could in that 152. Your second place finisher, Edwin Onofre, your pro champion overall and in the stage 2 Cup, will take in at second place on 27 instant points, and in 30 went the way of Eric Nickens, who took P3 in the number 44, not on the grid today, but doing enough to finish in third place, the pro driver. And you see the rest of our drivers there all classified, with the top 5 being rounded out by Wesley Griffith in the Prime class and Joseph Blamel in the AM class, our highest placed AM in this competition. A huge thank you, of course, to Team Bearpo for sponsoring this award and contributing towards it and running it as a result. And congratulations to all 14 of our drivers who made their way into this awards eligibility criteria, and a huge congratulations to our winners. And once again, our winner on only what was 19 points there, none other than Tom Bryce in the Prime class for ITD West JMT. Second place went the way of Edwin Onofre, the pro driver, the privateer in the 99, and in third place went to the number 44 of Eric Nickens in the pro class for Fo Tang Clan. So with all this, congratulations to all of our winners, and thank you, and a huge congratulations to every one of our drivers who made up the grid throughout the season, whether it's for all rounds or some of the rounds. Indeed, it's been absolutely huge and fantastic season of racing. But just to reiterate your prize winners then for this season, and as we can see, start off with Edwin Onofre, the pro driver in the 99, taking first place in the overall drivers championship in the pro class, taking $20 home with him as a result, and also $5 extra for winning the Stage 2 Cup in the pro class, and a further 15 for finishing second in the Safest Bear Pope Award. We saw Matthew Quinton take home at $25 in total in the Prime class for finishing first in the overall drivers championship of the class, and also for winning the Stage 2 Cup, and also $25 falling the way of the AM driver of Joseph Blamel in the 234 for winning the overall drivers championship in the AM class, and for also taking the Stage 1 Cup in the AM class. And it's great to see there the Eclipse Race, the Esports by Skyline Designs drivers taking each of the cups respectively, whether it's Joseph Blamel or Braden Melling. Meanwhile, we see in the team's championship there, both David Adeyi and Jaden Calloway, the two pros in the 32 and 37 respectively, both taking part of the $30 for the team's championship prize for ITD West. And I suspect they'll split it evenly. And, well, we hope they split it evenly, given it was an even effort between the two of them. And then we come on to the rest of our prize winners. As we can see, $5 falling the way of James Logston in the number 42 in the pro class for winning the Stage 1 Cup. $5 as well for Shajee Zuhair in the 109 for winning the Stage 1 Prime Cup. And, well, we can see also for Braden Mellon there, the 213, $5 for winning the Stage 2 Cup in the AM class. And this is the first time in the Miller Pack Racing League's history as well. An interesting statistic, this is the first time we have seen 6 different drivers win the 6 cups available over the season. It has not happened. We've had repeat winners previously in the cups in the Miller Pack Racing League series, but this is the first time we've had 6 different names take the cup crowns. Indeed, this has been a season of many firsts up and down the grid, and it keeps on giving. And as we can see there, your Safest Bear Pope Award winner, first place, Tom Bryce, taking home $25 in the Prime class in the 152. Followed up by what's the $10 there for Eric Nickens of the 44 in the pro class for third place in the Safest Bear Pope Award. And last but not least, our 7-race raffle prize winner, Glenn Bratton, who takes home the biggest individual prize of the season, those $50 in the AM class in the 289 for simply being the one to take home that raffle prize. Well, congratulations to all of our prize winners, and those who didn't quite pick up a prize, there is of course always next time in our upcoming series, but still being so happy to see so many drivers take part week in, week out. But sadly, it does mean it is now time for us to wrap up. Thank you very much for watching, and if you have enjoyed today's race, then perhaps you're sat there right now wanting to be on the grid in a future series of the Miller Pack Racing League community, and don't go anywhere if you're wondering about that, because we're going to be talking a bit more about that very shortly. Well, for all that and more at the MPRL, we do recommend you join the official Discord, invite link available on screen. Alternatively, if you don't want to be part of the Discord, perhaps you're more of a social media person, then we do recommend you follow us on Twitter, and that is at twitter.com/MOP Racing to stay up to date with all the latest news and announcements regarding the Middle of Pack Racing League. But what lies in wait next time is the big question. Well, all the racing for 2024 is complete, ladies and gentlemen. We're not going to mess around with that. But we're very pleased to say that we will be back in 2025 with the return of the Winter Toyota GR86 series that begins the 29th of January. And well, if the organisers planned it that way, I can tell you one thing, that's the ultimate birthday present for me, because the 29th of January is my birthday, and that is a birthday present that we all love to see, because it was absolutely incredible in the winter of 2024, and it is back in anger for 2025, ladies and gentlemen. And here is your schedule for what is the Winter GR86 series. And if you've ever been hesitant to go league racing, and you might be able to make these dates, will notice something with regards to how it's been split. 2 cups, much like our format that we've seen this season, but the first of our cups, which begins on the 29th of January at the Navarra circuit in Spain, is known as the Free Content Cup. Now you're wondering, why exactly is that? Well, the Toyota GR86 Cup car in iRacing is completely free on the simulator, and all 4 circuits that make up that cup, they are all free as well. They come with the simulator by default, so if you've never done any racing on iRacing, you've always been wondering, what's it like to race in iRacing? I don't want to buy any content, then the Free Content Cup as a minimum is perfect for you, because you've got 4 brilliant circuits to race in. We begin on the 29th of January at the Navarra circuit. We'll then make our way to the Motorsport Arena Oschersleben in Germany for round number 2 on the 5th of February. Then we make our way to United Kingdom for 2 absolutely incredible circuits there. I'm not biased at all, even though I hail from the United Kingdom, I promise. And Snetterton makes up round number 3 on February the 12th. And then on February the 19th, we make our way to Alton Park. And well, you couldn't ask for a better combination of circuits, an entirely free cup. And then the second half of the season, with a mid-season break or a week, is a Roval Cup. It's all focused around what is road courses inside oval circuits. Now this content is not free as we're to understand it, albeit I do believe the Charlotte Speedway circuit on round number 6 on March the 12th is, but you may have to pay a little bit of the content here. But the idea is, if you enjoy the Free Content Cup and you want it to carry on, it's the perfect time to buy some circuits, including Phoenix Legacy for round number 5 on March the 5th. Then we make our way to the Charlotte Roval circuit on March the 12th. And then for the penultimate round of the season, we'll make our way to Miami's Road Course A on the 19th of March. We'll bring it all to a close at the Indianapolis Grand Prix circuit on March the 26th. So if you want to be on the grid for this, we'll definitely get yourself signed up, and the best way to do so, in order to make sure you don't miss out on sign-ups for 2025's Winter GR86 series, is to join the Middle of the Pack Racing League Discord, and you saw the invite link only moments ago in this broadcast. I promise you one thing, ladies and gentlemen, when this series was debuted in 2024, it was absolutely incredible, from opening checkered flag, from opening lights out through to season finale checkered flag, and it's one not to be missed. And we just had it confirmed there by Jason Landry at the YouTube chat that both Phoenix and Charlotte are both free content on the iRacing simulator. So therefore, the only 2 circuits you would have to pay for to be in this one would be the Miami circuit and the Indianapolis Grand Prix circuit right at the end of the season. You couldn't ask for a freer league to race in one of the best cars on the service. So definitely get yourself signed up, because we'll be back for plenty more racing action on the 29th of January 2025. But until then, ladies and gentlemen, from all of us here at the Middle of the Pack Racing League, it is time for us to bring the curtain down on the Fall-ing into LMP3 Championship for 2024. Thank you so much for watching, and if you have enjoyed, well, do be sure to let us know. And well, it's goodbye from us here for Middle of the Pack Racing League. We wish you all a fantastic end to 2024 and a very Merry Christmas. And it's goodbye from me here in the commentary booth. I've been Paul Walsh, also known as TX141 or Brit of the Spit, depending on what media you follow me on. And until next year, ladies and gentlemen, remember to stay safe, stay well, stay smiling, and most importantly, remember to stay on track. Good night.